How can we improve the way we test data integration processes today? First of all, we can make daily testers' life easier. We can get rid of the manual steps that they spend on taking data from one place to another and formatting it properly. We can improve the way they are executing the test and the way they are verifying the results by introducing as much automation as possible. We can also change the manually performed non-repeatable tests into an automated process so that when we want to repeat a particular set of tests 3 months later, we'll be able to do it by simply pressing a button, instead of thinking, where is that data, where is that test plan, and who should I call that can know how to test particular data integration process. We also can improve it by introducing full traceability of previous test executions. Nowadays, we quite often do not know in detail how was particular data integration process tested 3 or 6 months ago. We can change it by introducing a common centralized repository that will store not only information that we have tested this or that process, but also information about particular data used as inputs, particular expected results that we have been waiting for, and the actual results as well as the results of the comparison. This way we will be able to fully track and manage the process of testing data integration processes across different releases of the application. TestDrive is a declarative and metadata-driven framework that allows us to define and execute tests for data integration processes. Once user defines what is the data integration process, so what are its execution steps, what are the inputs and what are the outputs, as well as provides the input data that will be used to populate the inputs and the way to verify the results of the data integration process, the framework can run the test and verify the results automatically. This means that the framework will prepare the environment, perform the test, and report the issues down to your defect tracking system that you are using in your enterprise so that the developers can immediately start working on the fixes. How does it work? Once the user defines the flow definition, so he tells us, these are the 3 inputs, 2 of them are input files, 1 of them is input table. These are the 2 outputs, again, a file and a table. The system can perform the full process of testing automatically. First of all, it can run environment check. We pretty often find that the test couldn't be finished because of a small configuration mistake. Missing table, missing right to save file to a particular directory, and so on and so forth. Those elements can be verified in front so that after running the test, we'll get the result rather than information that the test could not be run. The second step is environment backup. We are able to automatically back up all of the inputs and all of the outputs of the data integration process, so that especially in shared environments where multiple teams and multiple people are using the same installation, the environment will be left in the state it was in before we have started. As a next step, we set up the test data. This means that the data that has been delivered by the testers in the format that is convenient for the testers is being automatically transformed to the format that will be accepted by the data integration process. Tester working on the test data in his Excel can save it and deliver it so that TestDrive will automatically transform it using proper delimiters, transforming it to data stage dataset files, hash files, and so on and so forth. So the tester can focus on the content of the data rather than on its formatting. In next step, TestDrive executes the flow. This means that all of the different steps that have to be run in order to transform the inputs into the outputs are being automatically executed and are being monitored to detect any potential issues during the execution. As the next step, we generate a report that contains full information about the test that has been performed, including the input data that we have used, the expected results, the actual results, as well as the comparison result. So if there is 10,000 rows of output, we will be able to deliver information that those are the 5 of those 10,000 rows that have different values. And this is very concrete information that the developer can immediately use to attack the problem and fix the bug. Finally, we restore the environment using the backups that we have made initially, so that it is left exactly in the state it was in before we have started. Now, let's see in action how easy can it be to test, for instance, a data stage job. On the screen, we can see a typical data stage job that we will use as an example to show you how we can test it using TestDrive. This job is using 4 different input files and generates a single output file. The data it is processing consists of raw transaction data that contain the customer ID, the value of particular transaction, currency for that value, and VAT rate ID. It also contains the currency data, so for every currency we have information about the currency rate. This allows us to look up proper currency rate and transform the data to calculate the total value in the common currency. Then, after another aggregation, we can look up the VAT rate for the VAT rate ID. So we are able to finally calculate the total gross value of every transaction. Finally, we're aggregating the transactions by the customer. We look up some customer information, including the customer category, and perform one more aggregation by customer category to finally come up with information about total value and customer count for the data in particular customer categories. Now, how can we test this particular job using TestDrive? Here we can see that the data stage job lives in project DStage1 in the category Jobs, Customer Reporting, and its name is Load Category Data. Now let's automatically generate a flow that will represent this job inside TestDrive. We have previously created a project where we store this flow, so now we can immediately create flow definition. We need to choose which particular data stage instance we want to use, and we need to provide information about the job. What has happened in the background is that TestDrive has automatically fetched information about this particular job from data stage and created information about the inputs and outputs of this job, as well as information how to run this job inside data stage. This is the information that we will use in order to automate the delivery of the data as well as execution of this particular data stage job as part of our tests. We can see here that all of the different inputs